What's up guys, Speed here, and today we're going to be talking about warding. In fact, we're going to be going over 10 key warding spots and really breaking down the purpose of these warding spots, because you can know good warding spots, but you need to know when you should place them and why you should place them. And that's what we're going to be learning right here today. Do you want to carry your games, but always find yourself stuck in the support role? On GameLeap.com, we have the tools you need to take control of your games as a Pause 4 and Pause 5. With hundreds of guides covering hero specifics and key concepts like ganking and lane control, GameLeap is the place to unlock your potential as a support player. Hit the discount link in the description below to start today. So the first wards I want to talk about are wards that I feel like get placed a lot, but people don't understand really what you should do and why you should place them. And I want to talk about the hill wards, so specifically this hill ward. You could argue this hill ward, basically any of the primary aggressive hill wards that are actually used a ton in pro games. Now, why are they used in pro games? For a few reasons. Basically, if you're invading the jungle or trying to choke the enemy out, these wards are great. Now, you might think, but they get dewarded all the time. The point of these, though, is that when you place them down, you either really need to be A, extremely sneaky about it, or B, protect them. So if you get down hill wards, understand that they're probably the best ward for choking at your enemy and using them for extremely good fighting vision, but they get dewarded really easily. So if you think your team's going to play the general area, or a fight is about to break out in any of these areas, place down a heal ward. Now moving on to a ward that I'm extremely fond of is the in-between or just in the lane wards. These are extremely underutilized. In fact, I personally think they're some of the best pub wards in the game because they almost never get dewarded. Like, literally almost never. And the first one I want to talk about is the behind the tier 1 ward. The reason why I really love this ward is it's pretty easy to get it down. If your team is sieging mid, you can either go up this ramp and around, you can go through this tree line if you are Radiant. If you're Dire, you can come in from the side and easily sneak one down through these trees. Right, if I go over here, you can run in through and get a ward down here. This is a sentry, but hopefully you get the point. There's a lot of good ways to sneak them behind the tower. And what this does is if you're looking to take the tier 1 tower, this is the best ward possible. If your team is collapsing in on mid, right? Often the responses will come from TPs from behind the tower or people coming in through the jungle, right? So behind the tower ward allows you to catch your opponent off guard and get a proper jump. Not only that, I really love lane wards here as well. So if you can get one even right here, it's fantastic, especially if you're going for this tower and your team might not set up for it right away and the hill ward will get dewarded. Now you might be like, well, how do I get here? You will have to make sort of a weird smoke route, or, assuming either the tier 2 is dead already, you can get one down here, it won't get dewarded, and you'll almost always see if the carry is going out to split push. This is a great way to catch any sort of split pushing hero that's been constantly running down the side lanes, or even the mid lane. This one is just as good. I really love, especially in Radiant, wrapping behind this tower and getting one down mid here. It will give you vision of all this area behind the mid tier 2 to take the mid tier 2 later on, but also let you know who's funneling to the top jungle, who's funneling to the bottom jungle, who's running down mid. It really opens up your options for looking for catches, and these type of wards I think are the high skill wards that really allow you to play aggressively and make calls for your team. Now, talking about the next jungle wards, let's say you're in the Radiant jungle, so typically if you're playing Dire, the personal ward that I love the most at this point in time is the Stair ward. I call it the Stair ward. Now, it does a couple things in particular. It gives you vision of the shrine, right, which is huge. But if you get down a Stair ward right here, you get complete vision of the shrine, which tells you if anyone's TPing in to kill you, especially if you're pressuring this tier 2 or invading the jungle. And it gives you really nice vision of whomever is TPing in to defend the tier 2. I am Radiant, so I already kind of see this part of the map. However, it just kind of lets you know, once again, who's coming down bottom. It allows you to catch out that Terrorblade who is just so stubborn and it's going to go bottom the entire game. But most importantly, these shrines. As a side note for warding, take this into consideration. Shrine wards are probably the best or some of the best wards to get down because they basically say, okay, who's TPing in to take the fight? Who's TPing in to gank me? And are some of the best wards to place around the 10-minute mark. So if you aren't sure what to do around the 10 to 15, I think any sort of shrine ward, whether it's this stair, I'm more so a fan of over here because it will get dewarded less in my opinion. This ward will give you the shrine vision and let you know who's farming this camp. There's a lot of options and you just want to be creative. So against Dire, in the Dire jungle, this ward is probably my favorite. On Radiant, I really like this one, the Stair Ward, because it gives you a nice tier 2 vision as well as the shrine. Next up, let's talk about the in-between the tier 1 and tier 2 wards. Now, I really love these. They actually do get dewarded quite a bit, I feel. But if you were trying to take the tier 1, I think it's very similar to, diving this tier 1. This ward is great, right? It allows you to kind of see who's going to come in and funnel and allow you to get an early pick in the fight. Similar to that ward, one here is also great. It does about the same thing and kind of lets you know, okay, who's funneling in from the shrine, who's coming in from the backside, and it kind of shows you any TP from this area. It shows you who's going to come in from here, and just allows you to fight in this area so you can easily farm this camp with safety. You can farm this camp with a bit more safety, and sort of just once again see who's coming in. And I think these wards and basically placing wards around towers is a great way to get your team moving and get your team to go for objectives, right? Because you could be like, okay guys, I have this ward between the tier 1 and the tier 2 tower, let's come play in that area. And that's something I like to do in particular with the hill wards I talked about. This in particular, I say, okay guys, I placed this hill ward, I don't want it to get dewarded, let's stay in this area and choke them out, right? A command like that, it sounds, relatively intelligent. It sounds like you kind of know what you're doing. And it gives you fantastic vision that won't get dewarded. Now, yes, I hear you out. My team will never listen. Okay, I get it. I'm saying that's an option you can try. So if you want to give it a shot and you think, your team might listen 1 out of 5 games or 2 out of 5 games, maybe 5 out of 5 if you really are great at leading teams and having a good game every game, then give that a shot. Now, I want to quickly talk about the Radiant jungle briefly. Now, there's a few spots you can place it. This hill ward is actually so good. It gives shrine vision, and it really gives vision of like around this tower, so you can see who's coming up this ramp. You can take over the ancient camp. It's really so good, and similar to this hill ward as well on the Dire side. I think both of them are actually fantastic, but this is probably one of the best ones, as you really can take over this area and play 2 of the key high grounds. But once again, that's if you can get your team in the area, or if you can sneak it in maybe before the tier 2 falls. People often won't check these until the tier 2s either fall or start getting pressured. So before then, you can get them up and play in the area. But let's say you just want to get more of a long-lasting ward and catch people jungling the triangle. I'm a big personal fan, especially if you're playing from Dire and invading through here, of getting down this ward right here. It gives nice vision of anyone TPing in from the tier 1. Importantly, the shrine, as we've talked about, to scout for TPs, and some vision of the tier 2 for people who might set up from the back. Not only that, it's going to give you vision of anyone farming these 2 jungle camps, and I think it gets dewarded a lot less than the typical ward people place on this hill, or even here, right? This one I think gets dewarded a lot, and is something I would typically avoid unless you're trying to take Roche, right? And that's the next topic we're going to be talking about, Roshan. Now, if you're playing around Roche, and let's say you're on Radiant, so I'm looking at Dire, you have your typical wards of, placing it on the staircase. This is very basic, right? It's like, okay, if we're playing the area, I don't even really care if it gets dewarded later on. I just want to make sure I secure the Roche, which is great. If you're going for Roshan, you should ward Roshan, period. So I'd rather see this than none. Now, another typical one that I think is maybe even a little bit better and gets dewarded a bit less is sneaking in between these trees and placing this ward in this camp. Gives you a general idea if they're coming and works as well. Now, just as much, you can still place a ward here, right? And it will still give vision of the high ground. This is a sentry, so, it's slightly different. But a ward here on this hill will also give you decent vision and won't get dewarded. So if you think it's going to be a drawn-out Roche fight, maybe the game's very even and you guys are kind of like holding Roche as a choke point, this ward is a lot better, as it will rarely get dewarded, and even if they do try to, they'll get caught in the river and you'll have a very good fight. So placing the defensive wards for Roche are an option if the game is even, but if you're hardcore committing to Roche, you want to go for these type of aggressive wards. On this side, you have this ward right here, which is very common. People place this all the time, setting up for Roche to get vision of this staircase when they're funneling in, which is totally fine if you're committing to Roche. And if you really get close enough to this hill, you actually can sneak one in right here in OBS, and it gives you vision of the shrine. And this one is a bit less common, But, once again, it gives vision of the shrine, which is typically where people will TP in to see the fight coming. Now, if you're a Nature's Prophet for whatever reason, you can even make it give better vision. That's probably not going to happen, but hopefully you see the point. It gives the shrine vision, and will get dewarded a lot less than these hill wards. And the last spot that I also think kind of can be a bit sneaky is if for whatever reason you could come in here before the Roche fight, you can sneak down in obs in the Ancient Pit, and it actually gives really, really nice vision for people coming in, from the bottom side to contest Roche. And once again, like, for whatever reason, if you could cut these trees as any hero, you can also use it to, maybe for Beastmaster or Phoenix or, Nature's Prophet, you can even use it, or if you tangle the right trees, to see people coming from this hill as well. And the last ward I want to talk about for Roshan is what I call just the basic mid ward. Now, you see people place wards for mid all the time. All the time. People place them in the early game like 90% of the games, right? But it's actually a very good mid-game ward too, right? So, let's say I'm Radiant, I'm coming onto Dire. This mid ward actually gives fantastic vision. You notice it gives complete vision of this area, right? It will tell you if they're funneling in, and it shows for mid TPs that could come, right, if the mid tier 1 is still up. Not only that, it also will show you players wrapping in, from the bottom tri-camp of Dire, which often is a great place to actually pick them off before the Roche fight even starts. So don't forget, the mid ward on either side is actually very effective for fighting Roche. If you can smoke, place one down here on either side, assuming they're both obs, is a great ward that I actually don't think gets dewarded in the mid game / late game as much as you would think. In fact, it gives fantastic vision even after Roche falls. And the last thing I want to say about warding for this video, and I really appreciate you guys sticking around, is that rune wards are very crucial, especially in the early game. So coming in on the 5-minute mark, looking at the clock, obviously I'm 18 minutes in, as I've been talking about this video for a bit now, but at the 5-minute mark, when the first nighttime is coming up, as a support, I think it's very important that you rotate away after you get the bounty rune especially, or contest the bounty rune. You come over here, and you place a ward on this hill, right? It will scout for ganks. You can place it on your hill as well. It's not as effective, or you can even place it on this hill, for instance. On the other side, you could argue the same thing. Let's say I'm coming from this side, I would want to wrap around and get one down here, assuming I'm coming from here. But the point is, you want to scout for mid ganks and get another rune ward up, assuming, right, because wards last for 6 minutes, at the 5-minute mark, they're getting close to running out. In fact, they might run out, assuming you place the ward before the game actually started. And this is like the key ward for supporting. If there's any ward you use every single game, it should be the nighttime 5-minute mark ward. But thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you've learned a few new warding spots that you can try out during your game to secure perfect vision for your team and maybe win a fight that you really shouldn't have. And leave a comment down below if you think there's any ward spot in particular that I've missed, or there's one in particular that you use a lot that I've been forgetting, or maybe that I even showed in this video. I'd be happy to hear from all you support players what you think about this, what maybe a new thing you learned is too. And of course, like the video if you enjoyed. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Your team does not deserve your support, but holy crap, do they need it! At GameLeap.com, we have hundreds of guides teaching you how the best support players in Dota secretly carry their games with awful teammates without them even knowing it. Click on this link right now to take advantage of our special offer for a 25% discount and start your journey today.